This
like
conference
what
will
is the
now be
major difference
recorded.
between Python and Java. So Python was like easy programming language, so we can easily write. So only if you have some idea on mathematics, that is fine. So you don't have to know in everything about Python to write the initial programs. So slowly we will be understanding those things. Okay, so slowly we'll be understanding those things. Okay, right. So whereas if you look at a Java program, so what happens in the Java program? So in the Java program, you will be looking at uh, so many things like class. You have public, static, void. So you should understand everything. You should understand everything in the sense. So you should understand what is int, what is system, what is static. Everything you have to understand and then go through. Okay, so that is the problem with Java. Okay, right. So and we talked about why Python. So why Python is important. So Python is important, and why Python should be taken up. Okay, why Python should be taken up. So Python should be taken up because it is easy to develop and easy to understand. So it is not that it is very tough to understand, because it is simply based on the mathematical things initially. Okay, so as I'm telling you initially, so for starters, it is not a problem. For starters, like you are from different background, you are from different, suppose you are not from CSC, you are not from IT. So basically what you can do is, so you can easily start. You can easily start with the programs. Okay, so that is what the point. Okay. So then because of some features like object oriented programming, exception handling, database connectivity. So these are all the things which are already there with other programming languages like Java. So here also you have that support. So in that matter, it will be something similar to the other languages like Java. So Java is definitely a powerful language. So now, as you said, it is easier than Java. The next doubt that will come is whether all the advantages of Java will come to this. Okay, so the definitely the advantages of Java will come to this also. Okay, so definitely the advantages will come to this also. What are the advantages? Object-oriented programming, exception handling, database connectivity, data analysis. So it is supportive for data analysis, data science, and other fields like AI. Okay, so so many things are there for understanding. I mean, for making Python as one of the premier languages. Okay. Right. So today we will talk about the object-oriented programming. So what we'll talk about today? We'll talk about object-oriented programming, and we will talk about the other features also. So features of Python. So what makes Python special? What makes Python special? So we will be talking about. So we will start our discussion with object-oriented programming. So what is Python? Python is a object-oriented programming. So whenever uh, I say Python is an object-oriented program, it is not about only Python. So there are many other programming languages which are object-oriented. Like you say Java, so Java is object-oriented. Okay, so C++ is object-oriented. C is not object-oriented. Okay, so object oriented programming language, so you say OOP. Okay, so what is this? OOP. OOP stands for what? Object oriented programming language. What is OOP? Object oriented programming language. So whenever I'm saying object oriented programming language, so what do you exactly mean by this? Okay, now I'll ask you a simple question. So who are you? So you will say I am a student. And if you ask me the same question, I'll say I'm a trainer. Okay, so if you ask, go to the front office, and if you ask, so they'll say I'm a HR. So what is this student, trainer, HR? These are all categories. What are all this? These are categories. So categories, technically, programmatically speaking, categories are called as classes. Categories are called as what? Classes. Means, in simple words, you belong. So you are an object which belong to the student class. I am an object who is belonging to the trainer class. They are the objects who are belonging to the HR class. This is the object which is belonging to the laptop class. This is the object which is belonging to the mobile class. Yes. So this is the object which is belonging to the AC class. So that is the object which is belonging to the projector class. So what I mean to say at the end of the day is we are having the objects, and that objects are completely dependent on a class. So object class. So whenever the programming language is made on these two entities, what are they? Class and object. Without class, suppose just simple thinking, if there is no student class, if there is no student class, will you exist? No. So what I can call you? I cannot call you anything. No? So student class is there. That is why student exists. So you are an object who is belonging to the student class. I am an object who is belonging to the trainer class. This is an object which is belonging to the laptop class. So this is an object which is belonging to the desktop class. So like that, for everything that you see in the world, have a class, have a category, have a class, have a category. Getting my point? So whenever we are talking about a class, whenever we are talking about a category, we are referring a entity. We are referring what? An entity. Entity means a real world object. A real world object. Getting my point? Okay. So whenever we talk about object oriented programming, in programming language, object oriented programming is a concept wherein the programming language is built on class and object. So these two are the elements on which on which the programming is developed. As the programming is developed on the basis of these two, class and object, we call it as object oriented programming language. Okay, let me write the point. A programming language is said to be an object oriented programming language if it is based on, okay, programming language is said to be an OOP language if it is based on two basic fundamental units, of programming. Okay, that is a class and an object. A class and an object. So if a programming language is based on the two basic fundamental units of programming language, which are class and object. So if it is belonging on a, if it is totally based on class and object, so we call it as object oriented programming language. Is my point understood? So right, now we need to understand what is a class. Right. So class. Okay. So what is a class? A class is said to be a logical entity. A class is said to be a logical entity, right? Where an entity refers to a person, place. Okay. So entity refers to a person, place, a thing, or an event. A thing or an event. So a class is said to be a logical entity where an entity refers to a person, place, a thing, or an event. I'll give you examples also. Don't worry. So class. Now who are you? You are a person. I am a person. Right. Now, for example, you go to a bank. So bank is a place. Now you go to or you look at these things, laptop, mobile things, events, sales, purchases, marketing. These are also classes only. They are also categories only. Am I clear with my point? So what is a class? Basically, class is a logical entity. So why sir you are saying logical entity? Now for example, you are an object of student. You are an object of student. So object I can see, but I cannot see the class. Class is logical. Class is logical. So now you cannot say a student is writing the exam. You will say an object of the student class is writing the exam. You'll never say student is writing the exam. You'll say this he is an object. So literally speaking, he is an object who is belonging to the student class. He is writing the exam. Am I clear with my points? Okay, so that is what is logical. Student, trainer, laptop, mobile. So what are all this? These are logical. Now you say Rahul is a student. You say Lenovo is a laptop. You say Samsung is a mobile. So you say Dell is a monitor. So what are these names given to it? So those are nothing but the objects. Those are nothing but the objects. Am I clear? Names are the references. Names are the references for that objects. So how can I create the references and all? We will see. So class is said to be what? It is a logical entity where an entity refers to a person, a place, a thing, or an event. Okay. A class is a blueprint. Class is a blueprint. So what is a class called as? It is said to be a blueprint. Blueprint for creating the objects. For creating the objects. Okay. So what is a class basically? It's a blueprint. Class is a blueprint for creating the objects. For creating the objects. What is a class, sir? A class is a blueprint for creating the objects. Now, if student class is there, if student class is there, so students. So you belong to the student class. Now people who are attending online, they also belong to the student class. If there are some people here, they are also belonging to the student class. So all of them are belonging to the student class. All of them are belonging to the student class. Now your college students. You will say college students. So those are all the objects that belong to the student class. So I am a trainer. So there is one more person who is going to train here. So he is also a trainer. Okay, so we all belong to the trainer class. So that is why class is called a blueprint, the original copy. Blueprint is nothing but the original copy. Student is the original copy. I'll have so many students based on this student class. So that is why we are calling it as a blueprint. We are calling it as a blueprint. Okay, now I'll give you an example. Let's say you are working on a bank project. You are working on what? A bank project. Okay. So in the bank project, you will have so many classes. You will have so many classes. Now, for example, I will have class bank itself, right? I will have class customer. Okay. So class bank is the who's bank. So now we are working on the bank project. Bank project means bank is the place. Customer is the person. Customer is the person. Okay. Then class something like a thing if I want to say in the bank. So I will say uh, something like, so what is the thing I can say? Class cash. Cash is the thing. So cash. Okay. Cash. Then class event. So event is like loan. Now what are all this? All these are classes. In the bank project, you have a class called bank, you have a class called customer, you have a class called cash, you have a class called loan. What are all these? These are all classes, logical entities. Logical entities. So to which objects are need to be created. Objects are need to be created. Getting my point? Right? Okay. Now we will talk about the object. Whenever I say object, an object is a, so what is an object, sir? An object is a physical entity. Object is what? Object is a physical entity. So what is an object, sir? Object is a physical entity. So what do I mean by physical entity for that matter? So what do you mean by a physical entity? One second. So an object is a physical entity. What is an object, sir? An object is a physical entity. So physical entity in the sense it is physically available. Object is a physical entity means it is physically available. So now if you observe student, I just told you. So you are a student. So you are a physical object. You are a physical object. I am a trainer. I am a physical object. I am representing trainer class. You are a physical object. You are representing a student class. Am I clear? So, physical entity. So, again, entity means what? It can be a person, place, thing, or an event. Okay. Then, then we talk about uh, an object is said to be an instance. An object is said to be an instance. An object is said to be an instance of the class. What is an object, sir? It is said to be an instance of the class. Instance. So you are an instance. So in Telugu, if I have to say, it is like you say amsham, you say, no? So you are an ansh. So in Hindi, if I say it is an ansh, you are an ansh of a student class. I'm an ansh of the trainer class. Okay, so this is an ansh of the laptop class. This is an ansh of a mobile class, like that. Instance of a class. What is an object? Object is an instance of the class. Getting my point? Yes. So what is an object here? Object is the instance of the class. No. Right. So class was a blueprint. Class was a blueprint. Okay. Now for example, so you never see a bank, right? But you see object of the bank. Sorry. HDFC. HDFC is a bank. HDFC is an instance of the bank. Okay. Then object Ravi. Who's Ravi? Ravi is a customer of the HDFC bank. Okay. So object. Okay. So you see cash. Now you see note 500. What you are looking at? You are looking at a thing. You are looking at a thing. So that is object. 500 note, 200 note. In simple words, I am saying. Yes. Okay. Now loan. Object home loan. Object home loan. So what you are looking at here? You are looking at object home loan. Am I clear? Yes or no? So what you are looking at here? Bank project. In the bank project, these are all the classes, and these are all the objects. You have an HDFC bank. So Ravi has deposited this 500 note in HDFC bank, and he has a home loan. So what are all this? These are all the objects. Am I clear with my points? So this is what is object-oriented programming for you. So Python is totally dependent on class and object. So whatever you create in Python will be objects, and those objects are going to be representing, those objects are going to be representing classes. Everything you work in Python will be an object. So that object is nothing but the instance of a particular class. So you have a class XYZ. So that you are using some ABC object. So ABC object is of XYZ class, like that. I'll show you. I'll show you what object and all. I'll show you later. So for now, you try and understand that object-oriented programming language is a language which is based on the class and the objects, where a class refers to a logical entity. Class refers to what? Logical entity. So what an entity is? Entity is nothing but a person, a place, a thing, or an event. A thing or an event. Getting my point? Am I clear? Okay. So whenever you are talking about this, you're talking about this particular class. Class is a blueprint. Class is a blueprint for creating the objects. Class is a blueprint for creating the objects, whereas an object is the physical entity which is an instance of that class. Yes. Okay. So Python is an object oriented programming language, as all the components used in it are the objects. So Python is a OOP language, as all the components used in it are the objects. What are they? They are the objects. They are the objects only. So they are the objects which belong to some classes, which belong to some classes. Getting my point? So Python is an OOP language, as all the components used in it are the objects which belong to some classes. Am I clear with my points? Yes. So Python is also object oriented. I'll show you. So when we go into the programming, I'll show you why it is. Why you are calling it as an object, to whom it belongs to. That I'll tell you. Okay. So at that time you will know. Right. So next feature is, okay. Python is an interpreted language. Python is what? Interpreted language. So before going to interpretation, we need to talk about a very important concept of the levels of programming language. So usually, whenever you talk about levels of programming language, okay, so I'll not give any notes or anything for that, because not required. Whenever I'm talking about programming levels, so I'm talking about what? Programming levels. So programming levels can be three actually. One is machine level programming. Second is you can say intermediate level, or you can say something like middle level. Okay, so middle level programming. And you call high level, so machine level, you can also call it as low level actually. Okay, and this is high level programming. Machine level or low level, middle level, and high level. There are three levels of programming actually. Okay, so when programmers talk about low level programming languages, so if I say low level programming languages, there are only two things here, that is zeros and ones. Programming is totally developed on zeros and ones only. How, sir? How it is possible? Now, let me just give you an idea. Now, let's say I want to give 49 to the system. What I want to give? 49 to the system. Now, the system will not understand this 49 because it is low level, no? So it is low level, so it will not understand what is 49. So we have to give it a combination of zeros and ones. We have to give the 49 in the combination of zeros and ones. Understanding my point? How you have to give? You have to give in the combination of zeros and ones. So how I will give, sir? So now you have to divide it by 2. 2 2's 4. So remainder is 0. So 9. 9 means 2 4's 8. So remainder is 1. Next again you divide by 2. 2 12's, the remainder is 0. Next 2 6, the remainder is 0. 2 3's, the remainder is 0. 2 1's, the remainder is 1. So 49 can be represented as 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 and 1. How 49 can be given to the computer? 1 1 0 0 0 1. Right? How 49 can be given to the computer? 1 1 0 0 0 1. Am I clear? So what you are doing here? You are giving 49 as 1 1 0 0 0. So like this, 1 here, 0 here, 0 here, 1 here, and this one here. Yes. So you are giving in machine understandable language, which is called as low level or machine level. So you are making the machine understand directly. Hope you are understanding my point. So that is middle level or machine level programming language. So now today also you might write Python program or Java program, but at the end of the day, machine understand in the terms of zeros and ones only. Machine will understand in the terms of zeros and ones only. So machine will not be directly understanding 49. It has to understand by taking in terms of zeros and ones only. Am I clear? Okay. Now you are now everything you cannot convert into zeros and ones and give. So there will be big numbers, there will be big instructions and all. Then later on, what happened is in 1960s when computers were first evolved, these were the programming languages they were doing. Everything they used to give in machine understandable form. But slowly moving on in 1970s, almost near to 1970s, there was a middle level language. Middle level language used, so these are basically bits. Okay, so what are these? Bits. Bits means binary digits. Bits means what? Binary digits. So machine level uses two only. You want to decrease it? So okay. You want to decrease it? Okay. So bits means binary digits. What are the binary digits? Binary digits are 0 and 1. So you develop using zeros and ones only. You develop using zeros and ones only. Getting my point? Okay. Now coming to the middle level programming. So when I'm talking about middle level programming, so middle level programming is all about you are developing the programs using mnemonic codes. Using which codes? Mnemonic codes. Using which codes, sir? Mnemonic codes. So what is in mnemonic codes, sir? Now, for example, I want to add, okay, so I want to add two numbers means I will say add 4 comma 3 means I'm giving some mnemonic codes to the system. I'm not giving ones and zeros. I will give this mnemonic codes. But what I told you, system only understands what? Only understands zeros and ones. System only understand zeros and ones. Now these mnemonic codes are also must be converted into zeros and ones. Who used to do that job, sir? Assemblers used to do that job. Who used to do that conversion job? Assemblers were used to convert them. Am I clear? Assemblers used to convert the mnemonic codes into machine level codes. In machine level codes, directly zeros and ones they used to write. But in mnemonic codes, they used to give this instructions like this. Okay, so instructions like this, and that were converted into zeros and ones using the assemblers. Using what? Assemblers. Understanding my point? Okay. Now, right. At the end of the day, zeros and ones, pakka. Now high level, coming to the high level. So high level means you will write right? So C, Java, Python, these are all high level programming languages. So what you're doing, you are writing basic character set codes. What you're writing? Basic character set codes. So what are basic character sets, sir? Basic character set means what all you see in keyboard. Capital A to Z, small a to Z, 0 to 9, the symbols. Okay. So these are all what? These are all the basic character sets. So you are using the basic character set codes. For writing the high level programming language, you are using basic character set codes. As you are writing basic character set codes, they also need to be converted into zeros and ones. They are also going to be converted into what? Zeros and ones. Then who will do the job, sir? Assembler was converting mnemonic to zeros and ones, but who will convert this high level into zeros and ones? We have the softwares called compilers and interpreters. What we have? Compilers and interpreters. Compilers and interpreters. Getting my point? Yes? Okay. Now let me just show you. For example, you are writing a C program. C program must be converted into what? C program must be converted into zeros and ones. C program is also a high level programming language. It also need to be converted to zeros and ones. Who will do that? Compiler will do that. Who will do that? Compiler will do that. Okay, now we are talking about Python. In Python, if you want to convert into zeros and ones, it will be done by the interpreter. It will be done by whom? Interpreter. So what compiler will do? Compiler will convert the C programming language into zeros and ones. Interpreter will convert the Python code into zeros and ones. Then what about Java, sir? Java uses both. Java uses both. So Java uses compiler also and interpreter also to convert zeros and ones. So it will convert into some intermediate code. Some intermediate code. So here you have the compiler and here you have the interpreter. I'll talk about that. Yes. Now C, compiler language. Java, compiled and interpreted language. Python is interpreted language only. Python is interpreted language only. So first of all, the need of interpreter you understood. Need of interpreter, need of compiler you understood. What is the need? You will not write the programs in system understandable format. You are using the basic character set. What are the basic character set? You are using capital A, Z, small z, uh, you are using S, K, you are using the numbers, you are using the symbols. Yes or no? So you are writing the programs and it has to be converted into. So now yesterday you wrote one program, a is equal to 5, b is equal to 3, and a plus b. So now this is not understood by the system, so this has to be converted into zeros and ones. Is my point clear? So it is converted into zeros and ones. As you are converting it to zeros and ones, the system understands it and it gives the output. Am I clear? Okay. So then Python is just an interpreted language. So what is Python? Just an interpreted language. So Python do not have the compilation and so Python do not have the compilation and it only performs the interpretation in various levels. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, so first of all, we'll say Python is a high level language. What is Python, sir? High level language, which is developed using the basic character set. So what is Python? It's a high level language which is developed using the basic character set. What is basic character set? Capital A to Z, small a to Z. Okay, so 0 to 9. Okay, so you have all the symbols, right? So you have all the symbols. Okay, so they are all used. So English based basically, English and mathematical based. English and mathematical based, because that are the most common things that everyone can understand. So it is not that it is written in Greek or French, so that people get confused in developing it. Okay, so it is developed in what? It is developed in the English and developed on the English and mathematical sense. Is that clear? Okay. So Python is a high level language which is developed using what? Using the basic character set. So whenever I'm saying basic character sets, what do I mean by basic character set, sir? Basic character set means capital A to Z, small a to Z, 0 to 9 and all the symbols. Combination basically. Okay. Uh, So Python is a high-level language which is developed using the basic character set categorized into various tokens. Various tokens. Categorized into various tokens. So they are categorized into various tokens. Am I clear? They are categorized into various tokens means now you wrote the program. A is equal to 3. So this is called as like a literal. This is called as operator. This is called as a variable. Different names are there. So that are names are known as nothing but tokens. Okay. Now Python is a interpreted language, a high level language which is developed using the basic character set using various tokens basically. Okay. Right. In Python, okay. So in Python, or I should write Python programs Python programs are converted into machine level machine level using the interpreter using the interpreter. So using the interpreter. So Python programs are converted into machine level using the interpreter only. So we don't have compiler. We don't have interpreter. We have interpreter. Okay. Right. Using the interpreter. Okay. Whereas, whereas other programming languages, whereas the other programming languages like Java, is compiled by using the compiler and interpreted, later interpreted to get the machine code, to get the machine code. So we are mostly comparing Java and Python. So that is why Java is compiled and interpreted. Python is only interpreted. Python is only interpreted. Okay. Now we need to understand what is a compiler and what is an interpreter. So compiler. So what is a compiler? A compiler is a piece of software. A compiler is a piece of software that will convert the source code into machine code source code into machine code in languages like C program, language like C program. The compiler will, okay, so a compiler is a piece of software that will convert the source code into machine code in language like C program. The compiler will convert the source code into bytecode. Source code into which code? Bytecode in Java. Bytecode in Java. In C, directly machine code, but in source code, it is converting into bytecode. Okay. So it converts using using block levels. That is why it is faster. That is why it is faster than an interpreter. Than an interpreter. So what I'm trying to say here is, if a programmer is writing a C program, the programmer is writing a C program. So directly it will get converted into machine language by using the compilation. But when the user is writing a Java program, the user is writing a Java program, first it will compile to get the bytecode, compile to get the bytecode. So you will get the bytecode first. You get the bytecode. So that bytecode also is not understandable by the machine. So machine has to interpret. Machine has to interpret. So compulsory what is required? Interpreter is required. So interpreter is required. So that interpretation gives you the machine level code. So then the system understands and prints it. Getting my point? Interpretation as well as compilation. So first compilation will take place and then interpretation. Okay, now we will talk about interpreter. Interpreter. So what is an interpreter? It is also a piece of software that will convert the source code into into machine code. So here also Python is similar to Java, but the source code gets converted to machine code. So machine code by interpreter only. By what? By interpreter only. By interpreter only. So source code gets converted into machine code by interpreter only, and later, sorry, converted to bytecode. Converted to bytecode by interpreter only, and later the bytecode is the bytecode is converted to machine code using the interpreter only, using the interpreter only. Okay, so it is totally interpreter, it's totally interpreter. So what I'm trying to say here is, user, so what user will do, so user will write a Python program. So this Python program is interpreted and gives you what? Gives you the bytecode. Gives you the bytecode. So that is also called as bytecode. Okay, bytecode. And again the interpretation of the bytecode will take place, and again you will get the machine language by interpreter only. By interpreter only. Right? Okay. So interpreter works An interpreter converts converts the code line by line. Converts the code line by line. That is block by block. This is line by line. Okay. So line by line and block by block. Okay. Right. So a compiled language is faster than an interpreted language. Interpreted language. So compiled language is faster than an interpreted language. Why, sir? Compiler will go block by block, no? And interpreter will go line by line. So it is something like coming to the third floor of a building via steps and via lift. If you are coming via lift, you will be faster because you are coming block by block. But if you are coming step by steps, you will be a little bit slower because you need to climb step by step, right? So that is why it is faster. That is why it is faster. Okay, as interpreter goes line by line, line by line, one line, one line. So instead of going block by block, it will go line by line. So that is why it is fast. Yes. So these are the things for today's session. So we will talk about some more features in our next session. Then we will move into the components of the program. So you need to understand the greatness of Python first. So then we will go into the programming story. Right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ravindra. Thank you.